All right, so we are going to, I want to go back 1 second though, to this one. Yesterday in class, we kind of finished this one like right before the bell rang, and then I almost forgot to give out report cards. So I didn't really test these. I also probably want to change the text that's showing. This is what my phone looks like. Okay, I'll make it bigger so you guys can see it. Okay. I don't think that looks all that great. I would kind of like to change the text. Yes, mine's a little bit like it's not underlined. Yours isn't? Okay. All right, we'll figure out why it's not, because it should be. It should be underlined. I just don't want all that text to show, like the HTTPS, the colon, all of that. I would just like for it to say Adventure Air Sports, and the other one I would just like it to say Facebook. So I'm going to kind of edit my text, my hyperlink text. Now, my hyperlink, yesterday also, we didn't get a chance to test those. And I know Dana said that hers wasn't even underlined. So we need to test those. It marked mine correct, but I just want to click on it because we remember we added that target underscore blank. So it's supposed to open these websites in a new tab. So I want to test this one. So it did. It opened that one in a new tab, and it's actually taking me to Adventure Air Sports. Now, some of you that didn't have real businesses, I said maybe use Wikipedia or just use any old website. You can use Rock Hill School District's website. You just need a real URL there, so it actually takes you to a website. And then the second one, I don't know if Adventure Air has a Facebook page, but I just clicked just to go to Facebook, so my link works, and it opens it up in a new tab. So we didn't do that yesterday because I was trying to hurry up and get through, and I'm trying to make that go away so I can go close that tab. Let's just go with it. Maybe it'll go away in a minute, and I'll go up there and close it. Okay. Now, what I said about changing the hyperlink text, if I go down in my code, because what's showing is based on what I have in between these angle brackets. Okay, so if I make this a little bit larger, so this on line 28, so right here, that's controlling what is actually showing up as my hyperlink text. Okay, so that's what's showing up, but I don't want all of that. I want to clean it up just a little bit. I just wanted to say Adventure Air. You could leave the .com on there if you wanted to. Oh, this board drives me insane. I think I'm gonna have to just keep it little while I edit it. So I'm just gonna take off everything in front of that dot. You can leave the .com, and you don't even have to change it. It's just driving me crazy. I don't like the HTTPS, all of that showing. So and I don't want the www showing on my Facebook. So I'm going to get rid of that. So now on my phone, I don't even really like that line at the end there, that /. It's still moving. Not taking that one off. Did I do it on the wrong? Oh, I did do it on the wrong place. Control Z. Let's get those back because I need them. So I changed it on the wrong place. Okay, so here on the black text is where I need to take it off. Thank you so much, Jamie. Okay, so that is just a completely personal preference for me. But if you don't like what's there, you can change that hyperlink text by just going into your code and changing it. Okay. Now, is everybody's underlined? Dana, yours is underlined now. Okay, because that indicates that it's a working hyperlink by changing the color of it and underlining. Now we can edit that. We can go in where I think we're going to learn some code to change the color of an unvisited hyperlink, a visited hyperlink. We're going to learn to change the color if we just hover over it. So that's coming up pretty soon. But I wanted to go back to 14.1 and just kind of change that up a little bit. And I wanted to test it out and make sure that it opened in a new page. Okay. All right. So 14.2. So here's the new content for today. Okay. Apply fonts to the whole page. In lesson 13, you set specific fonts for the H1 and the H3. Now you'll set a specific font for the rest of the page. If you don't set the font family for an element, your web browser uses the font that is set for the HTML page. Okay, we actually don't have a font set for the HTML page. Okay, if there is no font family set for the HTML tag, your web browser uses the serif font. So that's what would happen in this case, because if I come down here and look at my HTML, there's my HTML rule. There's nothing there, thank you. There's nothing there that says font family and then some kind of property, okay? So then that means the rest of my web page, everything other than the H1 and the H3 has a serif font, okay? That's what it tells us there in the Learn section, okay? Now, number 1 says choose a font from the Google Fonts or the WebSafe font list. Okay, now remember the Google Fonts, that's when we have to click on the Google Fonts link. We have to find a font, then we have to go down to the bottom and click on that plus symbol and choose one. Then we have to copy the link information and the font family information and put it in there. I think it's easier, it's less steps to just choose a WebSafe font, because we can click here and remember it gives all of them to us. We just copy that line of code. So that's a lot easier. But now I don't want you to kind of shy away from importing a Google Fonts, because there's lots more out there. After you learn those steps, it's really not hard to do it. Okay. All right, so number 1 says choose a font from the Google Fonts or a WebSafe font list, then add that font to the CSS rule that starts with HTML. Okay, so here's my rule here. All right, so I'm going to add in a font family. So alphabetically, that's going to be under the background color. And I'm going to just choose a WebSafe font because it's less steps, and I'm wanting to try to get through these 9 lessons today so we can finish. So now remember, this is going to be for everything on the page except for heading 1 and heading 2. All right. So let's see, what's something that I haven't used? I'm trying to see, okay, I got those from Google, so I can choose anything on here. Let's see. I kind of like this Century Gothic, so I'm going to copy that line of code. Okay, so if you're using a WebSafe font, then just click on that link over here in the instructions, find a font that you want to use, and then copy the line of code that says font family, colon, and then the property. Okay, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to put that up under the background color. Okay, hold on 1 second, Ty. Now, those of y'all that just came in, we're just now starting on 14-2. So if you were with me yesterday, just open it up. What? Okay, there's videos in the instructions that will help you with those. Okay, there's 2 videos. So that's number 1. Ty, do you need me? Is this something that's ahead? Because you're ahead of me, aren't you? Okay, can you look in one of the videos? Oh, okay, all right, hold on. Okay, so we got our font family added for our HTML rule. There's my HTML rule there. That's number 1. Now, number 2 says make the color of your heading text different from the color of the rest of the text. Okay, now our heading is the H1. So right now we don't have a color on there, but we're going to change it. So we can click here, color name list. So let's see, make the color of the heading text. So I'm going to go with red. So this Adventure Air, there's is red. Okay, so I'm going to go under my H1 and I'm going to add font color and red, and a semicolon. Is it not font color? It's just color. Okay, I was font family, font size, so I was just going. So it's just color. So there we go. So the color property, and then you can choose any color you want, and it should change. When mine didn't change, I was like, okay, I typed in something wrong. So the name of the property that you want to use is just color, not font color. Okay. Any questions on number 2? All right, number 3, by default, links are blue. Change the color of the links to any except blue or black. Okay, so now that's our hyperlink. So we got to write a new rule. If I want to write a new rule for my hyperlinks, what's going to be my selector? So you may know. What should the selector be if I want to write a new rule for hyperlinks? What's the tag for a hyperlink? You gonna put them inside those? Well, we're not gonna put it inside the bracket, but what would go inside the bracket if I was gonna do a hyperlink? What letter? Nope. For a hyperlink. An A, yeah. So we're gonna write a new rule for an A. Okay. So remember, they're supposed to be, your selectors are supposed to be alphabetized. It will work if you put the A at the bottom. Okay. So I've got my anchor, my space, let me make this a little bit larger. And we said we can use any color but blue or black. Okay. All right. So I've got my A, my curly brace. I'm going to press enter. And the property that we want to change is the color. And it can be any color but blue or black. You know what white would look like? I don't know. Let's see. So I'm going to type in my color, my semicolon. Now remember, you can click on this color list name if you want to look at all your options. And then I'm going to hit the backspace and I'm going to close up my curly brace. So let's go see what white looks like. Maybe it looks good. Maybe, oh, I can't use white because I forgot I got a white background. Or I got that really beige. So that doesn't work. So let's see. We can't use blue. Let's try green. Okay, I'll stick with green. Okay. I was thinking I had a colored background. I was thinking white would look good on there. Okay, so did everybody get their color of their hyperlinks changed? And that changed because I wrote a rule over here for my anchor. So in between my style, in my open style and closed style, I wrote a new rule. I put it at the very top because I'm going to try to keep them alphabetical. But like I said, you could have put this rule at the bottom and it still would work. And Grace, you look like you got a question on your face. It's not working? Okay. All right. Make sure, let me make this a little bit larger. Make sure your rule is up under the word style, under your tag. Is it under the tag style? Okay, and you got an A and then a space, you got a curly brace. All right, on the next line, you've got color and a colon, and then that fits it. Yeah, I didn't have under yeah, okay. Okay, so you got color and then colon, space, and then so it's working now. Okay, good deal. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, we all good? All right, and I think that was the last thing for that one. Yeah, that was number 3. All right, so let's check this. And it's correct, so we're just going to go to the next 14.3. Okay. All right, text decoration property. And if you look up here, remember how I said sometimes these graphics at the head kind of help you out. So it shows you how to use the text decoration property. So you've got text decoration, colon, and then you've got lots of different things to choose from. So let's kind of scroll down and let's read the lesson here. It says the text decoration property, the underline on links can be turned off by setting the text decoration property to the value none. So if I went inside my rule for my anchor, okay, the one we just added, yes. Okay, all right, let me pause this. Okay. All right. So we were talking about text decoration property. All right. So over here on our page, let's go back to our page. See how my website is underlined? My Facebook link is underlined. If we don't want that to be there, we can take it out. Okay. So if you look at the example page and look at their website and their Facebook website, they're not underlined. The way that you do that is using a property called text decoration. So it says the underline on links can be turned off by setting the text decoration property to the value none. For regular text, it can be turned on. So if I've got like a word that I want to be underlined, but it's not a hyperlink, if I want to turn it on, then I just choose, like this is my main heading, I would go in my H1 rule, I would add a line of code that said text decoration, colon, underline, semicolon. And that would make a word be underlined, okay? You can also use line through or overline. I don't know exactly when we would ever really use line through. Or maybe overline, like if you had a bunch of numbers in there and you were wanting to have a line over your total, maybe you would want to use the overline. But usually what we do is either turn off the text decoration property on our hyperlinks and add it to like your main heading or something, okay? All right, so this says turn off the underline for your link. So I'm going to go into my anchor, and the property is called text decoration. And I'm going to set that to none, okay? So now, over there on my phone, you can see that the underline on those hyperlinks is gone, okay? It's been removed just because we added that line of code in there, okay? Now, the next one says turn on the underlining or underline for the level 1 heading, okay? So I'm going to go to my H1. You sure you're working on this, Kaylee? Huh? Oh, okay. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go text decoration and my colon, and I'm going to add underline, semicolon, and as soon as I do that, now my Adventure Air Sports has an underline under it, okay? So that's how you add an underline, remove an underline from the hyperlinks, okay? Now, those of you doing that with me, okay, I'm going to check it, make sure, because I think that's all. Yeah, that one was pretty simple. I'm going to check it. Says that 14-3 is complete. Yours says it's not. Are you on? The H1 to add the underline. Say that again. Which one for the no underline? The anchor. Because what I want to do is take that underline off of the anchor. Okay, so see that one, McKinley? So under the anchor, I've got text decoration none, and under the H1, I've got text decoration underline. Okay, did that work for you? Yeah, that's fine. Just tell me, say, I can't see what's on that board, it's too small, and I'll make it big. Can you see it okay now? Okay. All right, Kamala, you good? Oh, Kamala went to the office. Ty, you good? Elijah, you good? No. You need another second for it? Okay. That's what I need y'all to do. It's just slow me down and just say, hang tight. I gotta get some of that. And I will wait. So remember, this line of code adds an underline. This line of code, whoops, I said that backwards. This line of code removes the underline from the anchor. This line of code adds the underline to my main heading, my H1. Elijah, you good now? Check it and make sure it checks. Huh? 13.4, I think. Whoa. 14.3. I have my numbers backwards. So we good? Everybody good? All right, checked it. Make sure it checked right. And then we're going to go on to 14.4. Okay. Using the hover as a selector. Okay. So that's saying if I want to take my mouse and if I want to hover over something, what do I want to happen when I do that? Okay. So it says the CSS selector A:hover is used to style links when the mouse cursor hovers over them. So let's look at the example first. So I'm over here, I'm on the example page. If I hover over, well, it's not doing anything. Is it doing anything? Oh, it underlines it when I was like, because I was expecting it to change colors or something. So if I take my mouse and I hover over the word Utopia, I guess is how you pronounce that, the underline is there. If I go under the Utopia dot whatever that says and hover over it, the underline is there. So it's like, now you see it, now you don't. Now you see it, now you don't. Okay. All right. So the way that you do that is you use a selector called A:hover. All right. And then whatever we want to happen, if we want to change the color or if we want it to underline, then we would put that line of code in that rule. All right. It says hover can be used with other elements besides just the A. If I want to hover over the main heading and if I want it to do something like when I hovered over this, like if it put a tooltip on there, or maybe it got really, really big or something happened, then I could do H1:hover. Okay, so you can use it on other things besides just the anchor. Okay, all right, so number 1 tells us make the links change the color when the user hovers over it. Choose from the color list name. Okay, so I'm not going to put that line of code in a rule that already exists. I'm going to create a new rule for A:hover. I'm going to try to keep it alphabetical. Okay. A little bit bigger. So I'm going to go up under my anchor. Yes. That's okay. Okay. On the example page? No. The one that we're going to do. Yeah, I think that's why I was expecting it to change the color because I knew that's what we were going to do. But on theirs, on the example page, all it does is underline. So I was kind of surprised that it didn't change the color. Okay. All right, or you're saying it does change the color. There's no underline. But did you notice in mine it underlines and that it doesn't look like it changes color? Okay. All right, so we're going to do ours. So mine right now is green. My anchor is green. If I create an A:hover and I change the color to, let's see what I want to say. If I hover over it, I wanted to change it to red. So let's go test that out. So I just added a new rule. I'll make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it because I know it's really hard for Kamala to see it at the back even though he's not back yet. But McKinley too. Okay, so here's my new rule. A:hover space curly brace. The name of my property is color, space, and then whatever color you want it to be. But now y'all choose something other than the color that it already is. Like mine's green. Don't go change it to light green or dark green. Change it, make it a completely different color. Like I'm going to change mine to red. Okay, so let's go look at that and see if that works. So on my page, my websites are green. If I take my mouse and move over it, it changes it to red. So that one works. Let's go try the other one. I hover over that. That works. Okay. So that's all we do with that code. Because it's like we got the basic information. All we're doing now is making it fancy. Okay. All right. So that's number 1. All right. I'm going to wait just a minute. Come on. We are on 14.4 because the last one worked for you, right? Yeah, okay. I'll make sure I started at the recording. Go in your code under your anchor. So find where your anchor is, Kamala. So there's your anchor there. Up under your anchor, I want you to add that code that I've got highlighted. Okay? I'll make it really, really big. Okay? So it's A:hover, curly brace, color. Now you don't have to choose red. You can choose any color you want to, and what it's going to do when you take your mouse and hover over your hyperlinks, it's just going to change the color of it. So it could be any color. Hey, everybody else, I know Kamala's still typing, but anybody else having any problems with that? That's just the first part. Don't go hit your check yet because it's going to mark it wrong because we haven't finished. Kamala, did you get that pretty good? Okay, all right. Okay, I'm gonna make it small so I can read the rest of what we're supposed to do. Okay, so we did number 1. So now we're gonna do 2. Make the underline appear for links only when the user hovers over them. So we just need to add that text declaration for the underline. So in that same A:hover, we're gonna add our text declaration line of code. So text declaration, and if we want the underline to appear, then we just type underline with a semicolon. So now, when I go over to my hyperlinks, not only should they turn red when I hover over it, but it should also have an underline, and it does. So we're good. So there's Facebook red with an underline. There's Adventure Air Sports red with an underline. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, make the H1 heading font size larger when the user hovers over it. Now that's our H1. Okay, so the first thing we got to do is we got to look and see what is our font size for our main heading. You may have chosen a different number. My font size for H1, my main heading, is 36 pixels. So if I hover over it, if I want it to get larger, then I would do the font size again, but I would just do something a lot, and do it a lot larger. Don't make it just barely noticeable. Like if your font size is 36, try to double it, you know, or at least add 10 or 20 pixels to it so that it gets larger. So I'm going to come down to my H1, and I'm going to copy that line of code font size so that I don't make a mistake. And CD, I'm going to put it right here. Again, I'm going to try to keep these things alphabetical. It does not have to be alphabetical. I'm going to try. There's never been a year that I've done it exactly the way I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm going to let this be the year. So I'm going to put the font size between the color and the text because that's where it would go alphabetically. I'm going to double it. So 36 and 36 is 72. So now let's see what happens. Let's put all of this together. So my Adventure Air Sports, when I take my mouse and hover over it, it should get twice its size. And it doesn't. What did I do wrong? Well, it is. Oh, it did my fonts. I put it in the wrong place. I need to make an A heading 1. I'm so sorry. We need a new rule. I can't put it in my A:hover because that's my, it was making my hyperlinks big. Let's put it back in there. What was happening was when I went over Facebook, see how now Facebook gets larger? Okay. Because I put the code in the wrong place. That's the thing with programming. It does exactly. So I'm just going to cut that line of code. It does exactly what you tell it to do, even if you tell it to do something wrong. So I need a new hover. I need an H1 hover. All right, so let me go to my H1. Let me go under that. So I need a completely new rule. So I need H1 colon hover. There we go. That's where I'm going to put that line of code. That's going to make it twice the size. So I'm going to change the 36 to 72. I was like, I was hovering over it and nothing was happening because I had the wrong code there. Okay, so let me make this big so you guys can see it. Okay, so just go under your H1 rule and write a new rule, H1 colon hover. And I apologize over that mistake, but you know, we're all human, we make them. That would have been considered like a logic error. Because the problem wasn't with the code, it was with my logic of writing the code. Okay. All right, so that's what that looks like. So now let me take my mouse and it should get twice its size. And it does. Okay, so there's Adventure Air Sports 36 pixels. When I take my mouse and move over it, there's Adventure Air Sports 72 pixels. And that only happens when I'm hovering over it because I wrote the rule, I wrote the rule H1 hover. Okay, so it's pretty cool what you can do with the code and what you can do with the web page by the code that you use. Okay, was that the third one? I think that was. I think that was the last thing we needed to do there. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to check mine, make sure I got it right. And it said it was right. All right, what about the rest of you? Those of you doing it, was yours right? Okay, are you on this one? Okay, all right, let's pause this. All right, so I'm going to check 14.4. It says that it's correct, so I'm going to go next. So everybody that's doing it with me, you're on 14.5. Okay. All right, using the visited selector. Okay, so right now we've got our anchor, we've got our hyperlink a certain color. If we hover over it, it changes color. But what about if we visit it? The difference to be able to, what am I trying to say? To distinguish the difference if a hyperlink has been visited or not, sometimes they change colors. I'm sure you guys have seen that on web pages. If you go to the site and you come back, I mean, if you click a hyperlink and come back to the main site, that hyperlink is a different color. So the way that that's done is using the visited, the colon visited selector. Okay, so it says you can change the style of links that the user has already visited by using the CSS selector a colon visited. Okay, you can also use the visited. Well, I guess that's the only thing you would use it on. It would be hyperlinks. All right, so number 1 down here says set the color for visited links to a different color from normal. Choose from the color list. Okay, so mine normally are green. If I hover over it, it's red. So I need to have a completely different number for a rule that I'm going to make a colon visited. Okay, so while I'm thinking of what color I want to use, I need to go into my code editor and I need to find where I'm going to write this rule. Okay, so I'm going to write it right here. So it's going to be a colon visited. Again, I'm trying to keep those in alphabetical order. You guys don't have to, but if you want to, it does make them easy to find when you need to go back and edit one. Okay, so I'm going to click here and I'm going to type a colon visited. I don't know why it's happening. I'm having a hard time with my speech today. Okay, all right, so here I'm going to change the color. So color colon. So let's see, mine is originally green, then it's red. I want something that's going to show up. I'm going to try to find some kind of color, some purple color. So I'm going to click on that color name list. And so I'm going to just look in here. I think I'm just going to choose purple. Okay. So find a third color for your hyperlink, and it doesn't tell us not to use a certain color. So I'm going to put purple for mine. Once I click my cursor here, purple. And then don't forget to close that curly brace, okay? On some of your code that I've been coming around and taking a look at and helping you troubleshoot, that's one of the things that you're forgetting to do is that closing curly brace there. You have to have a closing curly brace for every open curly brace that you have, okay? Now, if I want to test this out, mine are probably going to change. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Mine's going to automatically change to purple, and probably so will yours. Maybe not purple, but whatever color, because I've already clicked one time on that link. So now I don't know if there's anything that I can do to get that thing to come back green like it was, because once you click on a link, it becomes a visited link. And your cache and your cookies and all those things, they kind of keep all that stuff saved. So I don't know if I could ever get it back to green now. I think it would always consider it a visited link, and it's going to be purple. Okay. All right. So set the color for visited links. Check the rule by clicking on the links and checking that the color changes. Remove the rule that made the heading font size larger when the user hovers over it. We don't really want to do that. Also remove the underline from the heading if you want to. Now I like my underline heading. I like my H1 heading underline, so I'm not going to remove that. If you want to remove that, you would go into your H1, not your H1 hover, but your regular H1, and where you've got text decoration underline, if you don't want that to be underlined, just take that line of code off. Okay. Now it doesn't give us a choice on removing the rule that made the heading font size larger when the user hovers over it. That's my H1 hover. So we have to get rid of that. So I'm going to do it. So find your H1 hover, not your H1 rule, but your H1 hover rule, and delete that. Okay. And that's 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to check mine, and it told me that I'm correct. Okay. Huh? For just H1 hover, that whole rule. So it should be 3 lines of code. Your H1 hover, your curly brace, the line of code, and then the curly brace up under it. A good question. Kamalan, how'd you do on that? Daniel, you got a problem with that one? Okay. All right. Let me go pause this thing. All right, so we checked this one. It said it was right. We're going to go next. Okay, so let me see. Okay, yeah, so this one's not too bad. All right, so 15.1, I kind of want to stop at a good place. 15.1, it said it would be quite annoying to read a book that uses lots of different styles. Okay, this is also true for website code. This lesson introduces formatting and style guidelines from CSS code from the Google Style Guide. These guidelines help you write code that's easy to read and understand. Lines 4 through 6 in the editor have 3 CSS rules that are correct, but they have bad formatting. Oh yeah, I can see that. So we've got 3 rules we need to fix. So we need to fix the HTML rule, the LI rule, and the H1 rule. Okay. Now down here, under the 3 things that we need to fix, it shows us the correct layout of our rules, our CSS rules, okay? So here's what we're going to be fixing. So let me highlight this area, okay? That's now it would work. Well, no, it won't, because it's missing some syntax errors. I was thinking it was just spacing errors, but there's syntax errors here too. So it wouldn't work. Okay. So let's start with fixing the HTML. Okay. So on line 4, only thing is when I have this thing really large, lots of times see what it does when I click on it to do something, it goes all catawampus. So it's like I gotta almost fix it with it being small and then make it larger for you guys to see. So let's work with line 4. What all is wrong with line 4? We need a space after our HTML. It's all on one line, so let's fix that. Need a blank line, but I still see one more thing. Really 2 things. What's wrong with my HTML rule? Somebody tell me. What do I need to fix? I got it on 3 lines the way it's supposed to be. Yes, ma'am. Right. There should be a semicolon there after light yellow. And there's one more thing that a lot of you don't do when I'm coming around checking your code. There should be a space between the colon and the value of that property. Remember, this is the property. This is the rule property that we're changing, followed by a colon. Please make sure you're putting that space in there before you put the property value. Okay, so that one's fixed. So we just need to do the same thing for LI and H1. So you probably go try to do it on your own without even looking at the board while I'm fixing these. Okay, so both of these, once you get them on 3 lines, they both are missing that space after the colon, and they're both missing that semicolon at the very end. Okay, so I'll keep this large, but I have fixed my 3 rules. Okay. My HTML, my LI, and my H1. Also, make sure that you're putting that blank line between your rules. All right, those of you doing with me, I still see you typing, so I'm gonna just wait a couple of minutes. Yes. Okay. I'll tell you what, I'm going to pause this, and this is where we're going to stop, okay? Okay, so make sure you have a rule on 3 lines. All the spacing has to be exact. This is the one that I was telling you about the other day. I couldn't remember if it was a quiz or a lesson, but all the spacing has to be exactly correct or it's going to mark it wrong. Okay, so Elijah had left out this line right here. He started his next rule right up under that angle bracket, and it marked his wrong. Once he went in there and put that blank line between each rule, okay, like that one there and this one here, then it marked it correct. Okay. Any questions on this one? We're going to check it. Ty, you got a question, or are you trying to read from it and make it a little bit larger for you? You good? Okay. Kamalin, you good? You still typing from it? Okay. I'm going to go stop the recording. So that got us through 15.1. So on Monday of next week, we'll finish 15. And if we finish in time, we'll start the quizzes. Okay.